God is exposing the person who can't stop loving you. Open this now, and don't scroll past this moment because the timing of these words finding you is not random. Listen to this carefully because this message is for you and your heart needs this right now even if you're trying to stay guarded and calm. There is a truth being pulled into the light, not loudly, not violently, but steadily and divinely, and you are part of why it's happening. Stay till the end, because God does not expose hearts without purpose, and what's unfolding right now is bigger than a coincidence, bigger than emotion, bigger than what logic can explain. Somewhere, someone has been trying to move on, telling themselves they're fine, convincing others they've healed, but their soul never signed off on that lie. They carried love quietly, buried it under routine, distraction, pride, and fear, but love that is real does not suffocate peacefully. It waits. It presses. It resurfaces when God decides the silence has gone on long enough. Listen to this. God is not exposing this person to embarrass them or to rush them toward you. God is exposing them so truth can no longer hide behind excuses. You may have felt it already, that sudden sense of being remembered, that emotional wave that doesn't belong to your present moment, that dream, that heaviness in your chest followed by calm. That wasn't imagination. That was resonance. This message is for you because your spirit is connected to what's being revealed. Don't scroll, because here's what your heart needs this right now. When God exposes someone who can't stop loving you, it's because the love was never shallow, never temporary, never based on convenience. It was covenant-level love, even if it was never spoken properly. This person didn't stop loving you, they stopped admitting it out loud. And there is a difference. Love denied doesn't disappear, it transforms into pressure, into unrest, into moments where they can't explain why your name still carries weight. They may have laughed with friends while breaking down inside. They may have claimed closure while replaying memories alone. And now God is stepping in because pretending has become heavier than truth. Listen to this carefully. Exposure doesn't always mean public confession. Sometimes it means God putting someone face to face with themselves, removing distractions, slowing them down, forcing them to sit in the quiet where the truth finally speaks. That's why things may be unraveling around them right now. Sleepless nights. Emotional overwhelm. Sudden realizations. Confessions to people who are not you. That's how exposure often begins. Your heart needs this reminder right now. If someone can't stop loving you, it's because the connection was not just emotional, it was spiritual. And spiritual bonds are not broken by distance, silence, or time. Don't scroll away from this knowing. The universe has been sending signs to keep you steady while this unfolds. Angel numbers appearing when you least expect them. 1111 when you think about destiny. 222 when balance is being restored. 555 when emotional shifts feel intense and fast. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations that God is rearranging something behind the scenes. Listen to this moment closely. You are not being told this so you wait in pain or reopen wounds. You are being told this so you stop doubting yourself. You questioned whether the love was one-sided. You wondered if you imagined the depth. You blamed yourself for caring too much. God is exposing this person to answer those questions without you having to ask. Stay with me here, because this is where power shifts back to you. When God exposes hidden love, the outcome is not always reunion, but it is always clarity. And clarity heals faster than hope ever could. Don't scroll, because this matters. This person is being confronted with their own heart right now. They are realizing that moving on was an idea, not a reality. They are realizing that no one replaced you, even if others filled space temporarily. They are realizing that love ignored becomes louder, not quieter. And whether they act on this truth or not will depend on their courage, but the exposure itself has already changed something permanently. Listen to this carefully. God does not expose love to drag you back into confusion. God exposes love to free you from self-doubt. You no longer have to wonder if you mattered. You no longer have to question if you were easy to forget. You were not. And knowing that allows your heart to stand taller, calmer, and more at peace. Stay till the end, because this is the part where destiny speaks gently. If this person is meant to come back into your life, it will not be chaotic or half-hearted. It will be humble, honest, and clear. And if they are not meant to return, this exposure will still release you from carrying unanswered questions. Either way, God is protecting you. Don't scroll away from this final truth. What God is exposing right now is not just who loves you, but who could never let you go internally, no matter how hard they tried. And what comes next will not confuse you. It will align you. If this message touched your spirit, if your heart feels seen and steady at the same time, stay connected and subscribe in this same calm, trusting flow, because God is still revealing what you don't need to chase, and you don't want to miss what He shows you next. Don't scroll, stay right here with me, because what happens after God begins exposing a hidden love is just as important as the exposure itself, and listen to this carefully because this message is for you and your heart needs this right now even if you're trying to stay detached and logical. When God lifts the veil from someone who can't stop loving you, the first thing that happens is not action, it's internal collapse. Everything they used to rely on to distract themselves starts losing its effect. Noise feels empty. Company feels hollow. Old habits stop working. That's because God doesn't expose love gently just for awareness, He exposes it so it can no longer be avoided. This person is being forced into stillness, into reflection, into moments where the truth rises without permission. Stay till the end, because this phase explains why you may feel sudden emotional shifts that don't come from your own thoughts. That heaviness in your chest followed by relief. That calm mixed with emotion. That feeling of being remembered without being contacted. That is not imagination. That is spiritual resonance responding to exposure. Listen to this moment closely. Once love is exposed, denial becomes painful. They are replaying memories not to romanticize the past, but to understand why you still live there. They are realizing that what they labeled as attachment was actually recognition. What they called timing issues was fear. What they thought they outgrew was actually unfinished truth. And truth, once seen, does not go back into hiding. This message is for you because your soul already knew the connection didn't end cleanly. You felt it in the way closure never fully landed, in the way peace took time to arrive. Don't scroll, because this is where divine justice looks very different from human expectation. God is not exposing this person to rush them toward you or to make promises. God is exposing them so they must face themselves honestly, without you carrying the burden of explanation. That is mercy. Your heart needs this reminder right now: you were never meant to convince anyone of your worth. If someone truly loved you, God Himself would make it undeniable to them. And that is exactly what's happening. Angel numbers may be appearing more frequently now, but notice when they show up. 1111 When thoughts of destiny cross your mind without fear. 222 When emotional balance replaces confusion. 555 When something feels like it's shifting fast but cleanly. These are confirmations that the exposure is part of alignment, not chaos. Listen to this carefully. This person is now standing at a crossroads internally. One path leads back into suppression, pretending, choosing comfort over truth. The other leads into humility, accountability, and honesty. God does not force which path they take, but He removes ignorance as an excuse. That's the exposure. And here's what your heart needs this right now: whichever path they choose, you are no longer stuck in uncertainty. The truth has been activated. Stay with me here, because this is where emotional power returns to you. You may notice that you're not craving answers the way you used to. You're not obsessing over signs. You're not replaying conversations. That's because your soul has already received confirmation. Confirmation doesn't always come through words spoken to you. Sometimes it comes through truth being spoken anywhere at all. Don't scroll away from this knowing. God often answers questions without involving the person who asked them, so the answer doesn't reopen wounds. That is protection. Listen to this moment. The exposure is creating pressure in their life right now, not punishment, but purification. Anything built on avoidance starts cracking. Anything built on distraction feels empty. That pressure is what brings people to repentance, not just spiritually, but emotionally. And repentance doesn't always mean coming back. Sometimes it means finally admitting what was lost. Your heart needs this reminder right now because you've carried too much silence for too long. Silence makes people blame themselves. Truth releases that blame. Stay till the end, because this is the deeper revelation. You are not being positioned as someone waiting to be chosen. You are being positioned as someone who was chosen deeply, even if the other person didn't know how to honor it at the time. That distinction changes how you hold the memory. It changes how you hold yourself. Don't scroll, because this matters. God exposes love when it is real, not when it is convenient. He exposes it when pretending has gone on long enough and healing requires honesty. Whether this leads to reconciliation, confession, or quiet closure, the outcome will protect your heart. Listen to this carefully. You are not losing anything right now. You are being freed from doubt. Freed from questioning your intuition. Freed from wondering if you were forgettable. You are not. And knowing that allows peace to settle in places where confusion once lived. Stay present with this calm. Let it anchor you. Because when God exposes hidden love, it's not to disrupt your life, it's to restore truth to your heart. And truth, even when it comes quietly, always heals what silence could not. Don't scroll, stay right here with me, because what unfolds next is the most delicate and powerful phase of all, and listen to this carefully because this message is for you and your heart needs this right now even if you feel like you've already understood enough. After God exposes a love that could not be buried, something sacred happens in the unseen. The noise fades. The questions soften. And a deeper truth begins to settle, not just in them, but in you. This is the stage where exposure turns into conviction. Conviction is different from guilt. Conviction is when the soul finally agrees with what the heart has known all along. The person who couldn't stop loving you is no longer running from the truth, they are sitting with it, and sitting with truth is uncomfortable because it removes all escape routes. Stay till the end, because this is where the spiritual weight shifts off your shoulders and onto theirs, exactly where it belongs. Listen to this moment closely. They are realizing that love doesn't fade just because time passes. Love fades when it is replaced by something deeper or truer. And nothing replaced you. They may have tried to convince themselves that distance was healing, that silence was strength, that choosing peace meant choosing away from you. But now God has shown them the difference between peace and avoidance. Avoidance feels calm on the surface and restless underneath. Peace feels steady all the way through. And they don't feel peace when they think of you leaving their life for good. That realization changes everything internally. This message is for you because your soul has been carrying a quiet question for a long time: was it real, or was I alone in it? And God is answering that question without reopening the wound. Don't scroll, because this matters. Once love is exposed, the mind tries to renegotiate, but the soul doesn't. The soul knows. They are now aware that they didn't just lose a person, they lost alignment. They lost someone who saw them clearly, someone who loved them honestly, someone who met them where they were without masks. And that kind of loss cannot be minimized or reframed away. Listen to this carefully. This doesn't mean they are suddenly ready to show up perfectly. Growth is not instant. But awareness is irreversible. Once God exposes truth, the heart cannot unsee it. That's why this phase feels heavy but clean. Heavy because reality is sobering. Clean because illusion is gone. Your heart needs this reminder right now: you are not responsible for what they do with this awareness. Your role ended the moment truth arrived. Stay with me here, because this is where divine protection becomes visible. You may notice that you are no longer emotionally pulled toward fixing, saving, or explaining. You're not drafting messages in your head. You're not rehearsing conversations. That's not because you stopped caring. It's because your soul no longer feels responsible for carrying the truth alone. God picked it up. Angel numbers may continue to appear during this phase, but they feel different now. For 44, when you feel grounded without effort. 222, when balance feels natural instead of forced. 1111, when you sense that something has resolved even without closure. These are confirmations that the spiritual contract is being fulfilled. Don't scroll away from this knowing. Exposure is not about outcome, it's about alignment. And alignment always restores dignity. Listen to this moment. They are now being confronted with the consequences of avoidance. Not punishment, but clarity. They are seeing how their life feels without your presence as an anchor. How distractions feel hollow. How other connections lack depth. And that doesn't mean they will immediately reach out, but it does mean they cannot pretend you were replaceable. Your heart needs this right now, because part of healing is knowing you mattered without needing proof. God is providing that knowing. Stay till the end, because this is the emotional revelation that brings peace. Love that is exposed by God is not fragile. It does not disappear because it is inconvenient. It transforms the people it touches, even if it never re-enters your life. That's how you know it was real. Don't scroll, because this matters deeply. You are no longer energetically tied to waiting. You are tied to truth. And truth does not require patience, it requires trust. Trust that whatever is meant to happen next will happen without you shrinking, chasing, or doubting yourself. Listen to this carefully. If this person is meant to return, it will not be from longing alone. It will be from humility, accountability, and clarity. And if they are not meant to return, this exposure still completes the bond spiritually so you can move forward without unresolved questions. That is God's mercy. Stay present with this understanding. Let it settle into your body. Because what God exposed was not just someone else's love, but your value. Your impact. Your irreplaceability. And that revelation is not meant to pull you backward. It is meant to lift you forward into peace. Don't scroll, stay right here with me, because this is the phase where everything God exposed begins to settle into destiny instead of emotion, and listen to this carefully because this message is for you and your heart needs this right now even if you feel calmer than you expected to. After exposure comes separation of truth from illusion, and this is where God works the deepest, quietest miracles. The person who could not stop loving you is no longer wrestling with whether the love exists. That battle is over. Now they are wrestling with what that love demands of them. And that is a much heavier fight. Love exposed by God does not ask, "Do you feel something?" It asks, "Are you willing to change?" That question is echoing in their spirit right now. Stay till the end, because this is where the meaning of everything you went through finally becomes clear. You were not abandoned. You were not overlooked. You were not forgotten. You were protected while God dealt with what you could not fix. Listen to this moment closely. The person God exposed is being stripped of emotional shortcuts. Old coping mechanisms no longer work. Old narratives no longer comfort them. They can't rewrite the story to make themselves the victim or pretend the timing was the only problem. God has narrowed their focus to one undeniable truth: the love they tried to bury never left, and avoiding it only delayed their growth. This message is for you because your soul has already been released from carrying that weight. That's why you feel different now. That's why the longing has softened. That's why peace is beginning to replace curiosity. Don't scroll, because this is crucial. God never exposes someone else's love to keep you emotionally tethered. He does it to untether you from doubt. When truth is exposed, responsibility shifts. The burden of "what if" and "maybe I imagined it" is lifted from your heart and placed where it belongs. Your heart needs this reminder right now: clarity is not loss. Clarity is freedom. Listen to this carefully. The person who can't stop loving you is now seeing how deeply your presence shaped them. Not just emotionally, but spiritually. They are realizing you were a mirror they avoided looking into because it reflected parts of themselves they were not ready to face. That realization is humbling. It doesn't inflate ego, it dismantles it. And humility is where real change either begins or where resistance hardens. God allows both outcomes, but He removes confusion as an excuse. Stay with me here, because this is where divine justice looks nothing like revenge. You may notice that you no longer feel the urge to prove anything. You're not waiting for a message. You're not scanning for signs obsessively. That's not indifference. That's alignment. Alignment feels like quiet confidence. Angel numbers may still appear, but they no longer feel urgent. For 44 when you feel safe in yourself. 222 when emotional balance feels natural. 1111 when you sense a chapter has closed without ceremony. These are confirmations that the spiritual work is being completed. Don't scroll away from this knowing. God is not slow. God is precise. If reconciliation were meant to happen prematurely, it would reopen wounds instead of healing them. That's why God first restores your self-trust. He ensures that if someone comes back, they meet a version of you who will not accept confusion, half-truths, or emotional inconsistency. Listen to this moment. The exposed person is now confronting consequences internally. Consequences are not punishment, they are clarity made unavoidable. They are realizing that love is not something you pause and resume without cost. They are realizing that you were not replaceable, not because of what you gave them, but because of who you were. That realization may take time to translate into action, but it cannot be undone. Your heart needs this reminder right now because sometimes the deepest closure comes from knowing the truth landed, even if it arrived late. Stay till the end, because this is the emotional revelation that completes the cycle. You are no longer spiritually tied to waiting for someone else's awakening. God already handled that. Your path now is forward, not backward. Whether their awakening leads them toward humility and courage or into regret and distance is no longer your responsibility. You are not being graded on patience anymore. You are being invited into peace. Don't scroll, because this matters deeply. Love exposed by God never returns to darkness, but it does not always return to the same place. Sometimes it becomes a lesson that matures the heart. Sometimes it becomes a truth that protects future love. Sometimes it becomes a confirmation that you were never hard to love, only met by someone who didn't know how yet. Listen to this carefully. You may feel moments of gratitude mixed with sadness, but neither controls you now. That balance is healing. That balance is evidence that the soul contract has been honored. Stay present with this truth. Let it anchor you. Because God did not expose this love to reopen wounds. He exposed it to close a chapter with dignity, clarity, and spiritual justice. And what comes next in your life will not require you to question your worth or your intuition ever again. Don't scroll, stay right here with me, because this is the phase where God turns exposure into transformation. And listen to this carefully because this message is for you and your heart needs this right now even if you feel stronger than you've ever felt before. After truth has been exposed and illusion stripped away, something sacred begins to take shape that most people never witness because it happens quietly, internally, and with divine precision. This is where God begins separating attachment from destiny. The person who couldn't stop loving you is no longer wrestling with denial, that battle has ended. Now they are standing in the stillness that comes after truth, where there are no distractions left to hide behind. And in that stillness, God asks one simple but life-altering question: what will you do now that you know? Stay till the end, because this is where everything you endured finally reveals its purpose. You may have noticed that your emotions feel different lately. Not empty. Not numb. Just settled. That is not you losing feeling, that is you gaining clarity. When God exposes love, He does not do it to pull you backward into longing, He does it to lift you forward into understanding. Your heart needs this reminder right now because you spent so long carrying uncertainty, replaying moments, wondering if you misread the depth, questioning your intuition. That burden has been lifted. You are no longer guessing. You are knowing. And knowing is peaceful. Listen to this moment closely. The person who can't stop loving you is now facing the consequences of avoidance, not in the form of punishment, but in the form of awareness. They are seeing how much emotional energy they spent running from what was real. They are seeing how love delayed does not disappear, it matures into regret if it is not honored. And regret is not loud. It is quiet, heavy, and persistent. This message is for you because your soul no longer needs to participate in that struggle. God removed you from the equation so you would not carry the weight of their awakening. Don't scroll, because this is crucial. There is a reason you are feeling more grounded instead of restless. There is a reason you are less tempted to reach out, explain, or seek validation. That reason is divine protection. God restores the heart He plans to bless before He allows anything new to touch it. Angel numbers may still appear, but they feel different now. For 44 when you feel safe within yourself. 222 when emotional balance feels effortless. 1111 when you realize a chapter has truly closed. These are not signs asking you to act. They are confirmations that alignment has been restored. Listen to this carefully. Love that is exposed by God does not require your response to be valid. It exists whether or not it is acted upon. And that truth is what frees you. You are no longer waiting for someone else's courage to determine your peace. Your peace is intact because God stepped in where human timing failed. Stay with me here, because this is where dignity is returned to your story. You were not too much. You were not hard to love. You were simply loved by someone who had not yet learned how to stand in truth. That does not diminish you. It elevates your capacity. And now that capacity is being redirected towards something healthier, clearer, and more aligned. Don't scroll away from this knowing. The exposed person is now living with a truth that cannot be undone. Whether they grow from it or resist it will shape their path, but it no longer shapes yours. You are no longer spiritually tied to waiting for an apology, a confession, or a return. God already gave you what you needed, confirmation. And confirmation heals faster than closure conversations ever could. Listen to this moment. You may feel moments of gratitude mixed with quiet sadness, but neither overwhelms you. That balance is healing. That balance is evidence that the soul contract has been completed. Not every soulmate connection is meant to stay forever. Some are meant to awaken you, reveal your worth, and then release you into alignment. Your heart needs this reminder right now because love does not fail just because it changes form. Sometimes love's greatest success is teaching you what you deserve next. Stay till the end, because this is the revelation that seals everything. God did not expose this person's love to reopen wounds or pull you back into confusion. He exposed it to restore your self-trust, your dignity, and your peace. What comes next in your life will not ask you to prove yourself, chase affection, or question your intuition. It will meet you where you are, grounded, aware, and whole. Don't scroll, because this matters deeply. You are stepping into a season where love arrives without hiding, without fear, without delay. And when it does, you will recognize it not by intensity, but by peace. Stay present with this truth. Let it anchor you. Because God exposed what was hidden so you could finally walk forward without carrying the past on your back. Don't scroll, stay right here with me, because this is the moment where everything God has been doing quietly finally integrates into peace, and listen to this carefully because this message is for you and your heart needs this right now even if you feel steadier than you ever imagined you could. This is the phase where exposure becomes completion, where the truth God revealed no longer stirs emotion but establishes certainty. What was hidden has been seen. What was questioned has been answered. And what was heavy has been lifted, not dramatically, not loudly, but decisively. You are standing in the aftermath of a divine intervention that did not come to disrupt your life but to restore your self-trust. Stay till the end, because this is where the soul exhales. The person who couldn't stop loving you has now crossed an internal threshold that cannot be uncrossed. They know. They have been shown. They have felt the weight of truth settle into their bones. And whether they respond to that truth with courage or retreat into regret is no longer something your spirit needs to track. That responsibility belongs to them now. Listen to this moment closely. God never exposes love just to prove a point, He exposes it to correct alignment. Alignment does not always mean reunion. Alignment means every heart stands where it belongs, carrying what it is responsible for and releasing what it is not. You carried your part faithfully. You loved honestly. You waited without manipulation. You questioned yourself instead of blaming. You tried to understand instead of hardening. That work mattered, even when it felt invisible. Your heart needs this reminder right now because the reward for spiritual endurance is not always the outcome we imagined, but it is always the peace we needed. Don't scroll away from this knowing. The calm you feel now is not emotional numbness. It is resolution. Resolution happens when the soul no longer needs proof. You may notice that memories no longer pull you backward. They sit quietly, without charge, like chapters you can respect without reliving. That's healing. That's God sealing the lesson so it no longer bleeds into the future. Listen to this carefully. The person God exposed will carry this truth forward in one of two ways, as a catalyst for growth or as a quiet ache of missed alignment. Either way, the love they tried to bury has already done its work. It woke something in them that cannot be undone. And you do not need to be present for that awakening to complete. Your role was to be real. And you were. Stay with me here, because this is where divine justice looks like mercy. God did not require you to hear every confession or witness every realization. He protected you from the emotional labor of their awakening. He allowed truth to reach you indirectly so it could heal without reopening wounds. That is grace. Angel numbers may still appear now, but they feel like affirmations instead of instructions. For 44 when you feel grounded in your worth. 222 when balance feels effortless. 11:11 When you sense that the future is open without fear. These are not calling you back to the past, they are anchoring you in the present. Your heart needs this right now because you are stepping into a season where love will no longer be ambiguous. You will recognize alignment by how safe it feels, by how little effort it takes to be yourself, by how consistently you are met without needing to explain your needs. Don't scroll, because this is the revelation that completes the journey. Love exposed by God does not linger unfinished. It transforms into wisdom. And wisdom changes how you choose, how you trust, how you open again. You are no longer susceptible to confusion dressed up as intensity. You are no longer impressed by words without action. You are no longer willing to shrink to make someone else comfortable. That doesn't make you guarded, it makes you grounded. Listen to this moment. You may feel gratitude for what was, even as you feel relief that it ended the way it did. That coexistence is maturity. That coexistence is evidence that the soul contract has been honored on a higher level. Not every soulmate connection is meant to stay physically present. Some are meant to awaken you to your worth and then release you so you can receive what matches it fully. Your heart needs this reminder right now because the next chapter of your life will not require you to prove yourself or wait in silence. It will meet you with clarity. It will feel mutual. It will feel honest from the beginning. Stay till the end of this understanding, because this is the final truth God wants you to carry forward. What was exposed was never meant to pull you back into longing, it was meant to pull you forward into peace. You are no longer spiritually tied to unanswered questions, hidden feelings, or unresolved energy. God has handled what you could not, and He did it without breaking you. That is protection. That is love. And as you move forward now, you move lighter, clearer, and more aligned than before. Don't scroll away from this moment. Let it settle. Let it anchor. Because this is not the end of a story, it is the end of confusion. And from here on, love will meet you in the light, not the shadows. Don't scroll, stay right here with me, because what unfolds now is the continuation of a sacred process that most people never reach, and listen to this carefully because this message is for you and your heart needs this right now even if you feel like you've already crossed the hardest bridge. There is a moment after truth has been exposed, after peace has settled, when God begins to teach the heart how to live without carrying the past as a weight. This is not the loud part of the journey. This is the holy part. The part where your spirit learns how to trust itself again without needing signs every minute, without needing reassurance from anyone else, without needing to replay old chapters to understand why they happened. You are here now. And this is where the reward of everything you endured quietly begins to show itself, not as fireworks, but as freedom. Stay till the end, because this phase explains why you suddenly feel different in ways you can't fully explain. You may notice you wake up calmer. You breathe deeper. You don't feel pulled backward by memories the way you once did. That's not time doing its job. That's God completing a work. When God exposes love, He doesn't just reveal the other person's truth, He heals your nervous system, your intuition, your sense of self. He teaches your heart that it no longer needs to brace itself for confusion. Listen to this moment closely. You are learning to exist without waiting. Waiting shaped you for a long time. Waiting for answers. Waiting for clarity. Waiting for someone else's courage. And waiting can quietly train the heart to stay suspended. God has gently released you from that posture. You are no longer suspended. You are standing. And standing feels unfamiliar at first, because you got used to leaning emotionally. Your heart needs this reminder right now. Not needing answers anymore does not mean love failed, it means love finished its assignment. Don't scroll away from this knowing. The person who couldn't stop loving you is still carrying the truth God exposed, but that truth no longer defines your daily emotional landscape. That is intentional. God does not heal one heart by binding it to another's struggle forever. He heals by restoring autonomy, dignity, and inner peace. You may sense that they still think of you, still feel you, still carry the echo of what you shared. But it no longer pulls at you. That cord has loosened. Not in bitterness. In completion. Listen to this carefully. Completion is one of the most misunderstood spiritual experiences. People think closure comes with conversations, apologies, or reconciliations. Often it doesn't. Completion comes when your soul stops asking the same question over and over. And you have stopped asking. Not because you gave up, but because the answer arrived in a form that didn't require explanation. That is God's mercy. Stay with me here, because this is where new discernment forms. You are becoming more selective with what you allow into your emotional space. Not closed. Just clear. You feel when something is misaligned faster now. You notice when words don't match actions without needing proof. You recognize peace as a sign of truth, not boredom. This is spiritual maturity settling into your bones. Your heart needs this reminder right now because you may still be adjusting to this new steadiness. Steadiness can feel strange when you lived in emotional motion for so long. Don't scroll, because this matters. God didn't bring you this far to return you to uncertainty disguised as excitement. He refined your heart so it can recognize love that shows up cleanly, consistently, and without games. Listen to this moment. The reason you can finally hold memories without pain is because you no longer need them to validate your worth. Your worth has been restored internally. You no longer ask, "Why wasn't I chosen then?" You understand now that being loved and being chosen are not always synchronized. Someone can love deeply and still be unable to lead their life in truth. That does not diminish the love, but it does limit the future. And God stepped in when the limitation threatened to wound you further. Your heart needs this right now because there is a quiet confidence growing in you that has nothing to do with ego. It's the confidence of someone who knows they can survive uncertainty, disappointment, and silence without losing themselves. That confidence will shape every connection you have moving forward. Stay till the end, because this is where destiny opens gently instead of forcefully. You may start noticing new opportunities, new conversations, new invitations that feel lighter than what you're used to. They don't demand emotional labor. They don't require decoding. They feel easy in a way that once felt suspicious to you. That's because your system was trained on intensity. God is retraining it on peace. And peace does not mean lack of passion, it means passion without fear. Don't scroll away from this truth. The next love that approaches you will feel different. It will not arrive with urgency or confusion. It will not awaken old wounds. It will feel steady enough that your body relaxes instead of bracing. You will recognize it not by butterflies alone, but by safety. And that recognition is a gift born from everything you've just completed. Listen to this carefully. You did not go through exposure, waiting, and healing to return to emotional survival mode. You went through it to become someone who can receive love without self-abandonment. That is rare. That is earned. And that is protected. Your heart needs this reminder right now because there may still be moments where the past tries to knock, not to return, but to check if the door is still open. You are allowed to keep it closed without resentment. Closed doors are not rejections, they are boundaries honoring growth. Stay with me here, because this is the emotional revelation that anchors you. The person God exposed will always carry the truth of what they felt for you. That truth will shape their life in ways you may never see. But it no longer shapes yours. You are no longer living in response to someone else's awakening. You are living in response to your own alignment. That shift is everything. Don't scroll, because this matters deeply. You are entering a season where your intuition is quiet but accurate, where your heart is open but protected, where love approaches you without hiding. And when that love arrives, you will not question whether it's real. You will not need signs to confirm it. You will feel it in how little it asks you to doubt yourself. Listen to this moment closely. God did not expose hidden love to trap you in the past. He exposed it to close a spiritual loop so you could move forward unburdened. That loop is closed now. And what remains is not longing, not confusion, not regret. What remains is wisdom. And wisdom walks calmly into the future, trusting that what belongs to you will meet you without needing to be chased. Don't scroll away from this truth. You may notice that your intuition is quieter now, but sharper. You don't need constant signs because you trust yourself. When angel numbers appear, they don't stir urgency, they bring reassurance. For 44 when you feel grounded in your worth. 222 when balance feels natural. 1111 when you sense new beginnings without fear. These are not calling you back, they are confirming you are moving forward correctly. Listen to this moment. The next love, the next chapter, the next connection that enters your life will not ask you to relive old wounds to prove readiness. It will feel familiar in a peaceful way, not a triggering one. You will not feel like you're auditioning for consistency. You will not feel like you have to guess where you stand. You will recognize alignment not by butterflies alone, but by how safe it feels to be yourself. Your heart needs this right now because peace can feel unfamiliar after long seasons of emotional intensity. But unfamiliar does not mean wrong. It means new. Stay with me here, because this is the final integration. You are no longer emotionally available to confusion disguised as passion. You are no longer impressed by words without follow-through. You are no longer willing to wait in silence for someone else to catch up to a truth you already lived. That doesn't make you closed. It makes you clear. And clarity is magnetic. Don't scroll, because this matters deeply. The universe responds to clarity faster than longing. When you stop asking why and start trusting what's next, movement begins. Opportunities appear. Conversations shift. Energy aligns. Not because you forced anything, but because you finally stepped out of resistance. Listen to this carefully. You did not lose time loving deeply. You did not waste emotion. You did not give too much. Everything you gave shaped your discernment, your compassion, and your strength. And those qualities will now be met, not drained. Love that comes next will feel different because you are different. You are not entering it from lack. You are entering it from wholeness. Stay till the end, because this is the closing truth your spirit needs to carry forward. God exposed what was hidden so you would never doubt your intuition again. He healed what was wounded so you could love again without fear. He released what was unresolved so your future would not be built on the past. You are not behind. You are not late. You are right on time. And what is meant for you will not require you to chase it, question yourself, or shrink your heart. It will meet you openly, honestly, and consistently. Don't scroll away from this moment. Let it anchor you. Let it settle into your body. And if this message resonated, if your heart feels calm, seen, and steady right now, stay connected. Like, share, and subscribe in this same gentle flow, because what God reveals next is not about survival, it's about fulfillment, and you don't want to miss the season you just prepared for.